Why do we need to protect the seals, sir?
Because the seals are very important, and I like to help the environment, and by helping the seals, I think that we can protect the environment, protect the animals, protect the world, you know?
Do you eat meat? Do you wear leather?
I do. Not because I don't like killing animals. I just like the taste of the meat.
All right, as David Menzies, you can catch more of that on Charles Adler's show later on today. It used to be that, well, men were thought to have dominion over the animals. In fact, it's right there in the Bible, best-selling book in the world. Then God said, let us make man in our image and our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, over the livestock, over all the earth, and over the creatures that move along the ground. That's from the book of Genesis. And even people that weren't religious held that view. Now there seems to be another view, could be considered a religious view, and that's that animals matter more than people. And I think that's part of what's behind some of the protests going on. Maybe I'm all wrong, maybe I'm all wet. Ashley Byrne joins us from the New York office of PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. Thanks very much for joining us, Ms. Byrne.
Thank you so much for having me.
Am I wrong in thinking that organizations like yourself and PETA and the one that held this protest in Toronto put animals before people and engage in actions to try and make it seem as though people aren't any better than animals?
Well, you're wrong in thinking that we think animals are better than people. We simply want people to realize that animals deserve consideration for the fact that they have the ability to feel pain just like we do. They have the ability to suffer just like we do. And so it's not a matter of choosing one or the other. It's simply a matter of sparing animals from unnecessary suffering and realizing that we should try to be compassionate whenever we can.
Well, I think most people, including meat eaters, would agree with you. Hunters especially view animals in a way that says they have to be treated in a humane way, that you have, if you're going to kill an animal, you've got to use the entire animal. But your organization lobbies against the seal hunt. You encourage people to go vegan, not just vegetarian, but vegan, and portray meat as a bad option. In fact, one of your campaigns a little while ago said to animals, all humans are Nazis. I think there's a poster made up of that. That's a rather shocking statement, wouldn't you say?
Well, meat is a bad option. It's obviously a bad option for the animals who not only lose their lives, but often suffer from extreme confinement for most of their lives, are often mutilated on factory farms without painkillers and suffer other abuses. But it actually is a bad option for people too. It's an awful option for our health. It contributes to heart disease, forms of cancer, diabetes, obesity, and it's a terrible option for the environment. So, you know, I think this is a great example of how helping animals is actually a way to help ourselves as well.
But to animals, all people are Nazis. Is that a fair comparison? Is that I think that is going beyond the pale of active policy discussion.
Well, you know, I think that statement is referencing, you know, people who are choosing to eat animals even though they know that animals are being, as I said, confined so they can't even turn around for their entire lives. They're
That's not how all animals are treated,
they're being
though.
abused.
That's not how all animals are treated.
But the vast majority of animals who are being used for meat, for dairy, for eggs, are being treated that way. And, you know, and to those animals, the abuse that they're suffering, you know, it certainly makes humans something to fear.
So you don't think that comparing myself and the majority of the audience to Nazis lessens your call for people to be kind to animals and treat them humanely?
I think it's a wake-up call for a lot of people because, you know, I think the main difference is that many people engage in these behaviors of eating meat or wearing clothes made from animals without realizing how great the suffering that they're causing is. So I think the lack of awareness is the big difference for many people. But it is meant as a wake-up call. You know, we hope that people will be shocked. We hope that people will visit our website and will watch the videos of how animals suffer behind the scenes in these industries and will change their behaviors as a result.
PETA is against the seal hunt, the Canadian seal hunt, correct? You lobby against that?
Absolutely.
Okay. You know that fish or seals are not vegetarians. They're not vegans. They eat a lot of fish. They eat 1 to 2 tons of fish per year, and according to scientists and fishermen, are responsible for the cod stock off the Atlantic coast being depleted.
Well, we are aware that seals do eat fish. However, unlike us, seals don't really have very many options for what they eat. We can choose to be compassionate. We can choose not to cause harm to other animals. And the seal hunt is pretty egregious in the fact that these seals are being abused in ways that would horrify the average person. They're being hooked in their eyes, their mouth, their cheek, dragged across the ice and bludgeoned to death while
there are actually very strict rules. There are very strict rules. There are very strict rules on how they have to be killed.
But those rules aren't followed.
Out of a population of over 350,000, 68,000 was the legalized kill last year. That's it. It's not a huge impact on the seal population because it continues to rise, and they're supposed to be killed in a humane way.
Well, first of all, those rules are not followed, as veterinarians who have visited and observed the hunt have seen. But I think you do bring up a good point in the fact that the seal hunt is shrinking. It really is a dead industry. And I think what horrifies a lot of people is that the government is propping up this tiny industry that has reached a dead end. There's no market for these pellets.
This is an industry, though, that supports small Inuit villages across northern Canada. This is what the people have lived on and subsisted on for years, and you're trying to shut them down. You're trying to say, look, I live in New York and I don't like the way that you live, and I'm going to make sure that everyone thinks you're awful and evil.
That's not true. The Inuit hunt is not the target of our campaign, and the government is unfortunately being very dishonest in trying to hide behind the native hunt.
So are you okay with an Inuit hunt?
We are not opposing that hunt. Of course, we're never happy to see
you can have a race-based hunt. You can have a race-based hunt. If you're of a certain race, you can hunt these animals and sell them, but if you're not of that race, you can't.
Well, again, we don't like to see this hunt regardless, but our campaign is not against that hunt because it only comprises such a tiny portion, 3% of the overall number of seals killed each year. So our real concern is not with these subsistence hunters, it's with the vast majority of the hunt, which is conducted as an off-season profit venture for fishermen along the eastern shore. And and the fact that the government, again, is propping up this hunt with tax dollars is pretty bad when, again, you consider that there's really no future for this. The responsible thing, not just for the seals, but for Canadian citizens, would be to stop dumping tax dollars into a dead industry and, and to find a logical way out.
Is PETA a charity?
A charity?
Yeah, is PETA a charity? Do you have charitable status in the U.S. or Canada?
We're a charity in that we receive donations from individuals, not from the government.
Okay. I just asked because, a little while ago, there's the Daily Caller revealing that you guys euthanize thousands of cats and dogs over the last few years, and that was something that shocked a lot of people. 24 cats and dogs put in adoptive homes, and since 1998, according to Commonwealth of Virginia, 27,751 pets killed by PETA workers. How does that square with your view that you shouldn't be killing these other animals, but you're going to kill 27,000?
Well, you're right. People should be shocked. And we've made no secret of the fact that we act as a shelter of last resort for animals who are left with no place to go because of irresponsible industries like the pet trade, because of pet stores, because of breeders, because of people who are not spaying and neutering their cats and dogs. And unfortunately, like shelters across, Northern America, PETA is forced to euthanize cats and dogs who have no place to go. And, of course, many of these cats and dogs also come to us in terrible physical condition, also with a lot of mental problems from abuse and neglect. And again, we have to put blame for this squarely where it belongs, on the shoulders
on
of
idiots
people
that
who
don't
are breeding
on idiots that don't treat animals correctly, not on the vast majority of pet owners or the vast majority of meat eaters. Ms. Byrne, well, we're out of time. We'll have to leave it there. We'll have to leave it there. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me.